The plasma warning shrieked through the observation deck as Lieutenant Connor Hayes dove behind the titanium support beam. 3 seconds earlier, he'd been staring at the most beautiful creature he'd ever seen. Now that creature was firing a pulse weapon directly at his head. "Human, you will cease this infiltration immediately," the alien female commanded, her voice like crystal chimes wrapped in thunder. Connor rolled left as another bolt vaporized the deck plating where he'd crouched. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. The diplomatic summit had exploded into chaos when the Viridian delegation detected what they called a neural manipulator in the human quarters. Someone had planted it. Someone wanted this war. "I'm not infiltrating anything," Connor shouted, sprinting toward the emergency bulkhead. "Check the damn signature on that device. It's not human tech." The alien woman moved faster than physics should allow, cutting off his escape route. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her skin shifting through colors like oil on water, her 4 eyes locked onto him with predatory focus. The weapon in her triple-jointed arm hummed with lethal intent. "Your species has lied before," she said. "The Council of 12 warned us about human deception." Connor's mind raced. The peace talks had taken 3 years to arrange. If they collapsed now, the resulting war would consume half the galaxy. Earth's fleet couldn't stand against the Viridian Collective. Nobody could. He did the only thing his adrenaline-soaked brain could conceive. "Then let me prove we're not all liars," he said, raising his empty hands. "Have dinner with me. 1 meal. No weapons. No guards. Just conversation." The alien's weapon didn't waver, but her chromatic skin flickered through patterns Connor's translator implant couldn't decipher. Confusion, maybe. Or rage building toward execution. "You propose a courtship ritual while your people plant weapons designed to destroy our neural matrices?" Her voice dropped to something deadly quiet. "I propose we figure out who's really trying to kill both our species," Connor said. "Because that manipulator, it broadcasts on frequencies human brains can't even process. It's meant to hurt you and blame us." The weapon lowered 1 inch, then 2. "You have 30 seconds to explain how you know this, human." "Connor. My name's Connor Hayes, and I know because I've spent 6 months studying your biology for these talks. That device would kill me before it even activated against Viridian neural structures." Her 4 eyes narrowed in sequence, left to right, a gesture his cultural briefings had flagged as analytical processing. "Connor Hayes," she repeated. "I am Jira of the 7th Spine. And you have 28 seconds remaining." The deck shuddered as something detonated 3 levels down. Screams echoed through the station's corridors. The sabotage was escalating. Connor met all 4 of her eyes at once. "Dinner. Tonight. Because we're both dead anyway if we don't figure out who wants this war." Jira's weapon powered down with a descending whine. "You are either the bravest human alive or the most foolish. We shall determine which." The restaurant deck was chaos given form. Viridian security forces had sealed 3 sections after finding 2 more neural manipulators. Human Marines patrolled with weapons hot, and Connor Hayes sat across from Jira at a small table in the station's only neutral zone, a cramped observation room overlooking the gas giant below. "Your people believe we planted those devices," Zahra said, her skin cycling through deep purples and blacks. "Connor's cultural database tagged it as distress. My commander has ordered full withdrawal within 6 hours. Connor pushed a data pad across the table. "Look at the energy signature. It's Krell technology. Third-party manufactured. Someone bought these on the black market specifically because they'd implicate both our species." Jera's primary eyes scanned the data while her secondary eyes never left Connor's face. The dual focus was unsettling, like being studied by a predator and a scientist simultaneously. "The Krell were destroyed in the border wars," she said. "Their weapons depots were seized by the Coalition. Most of them." Connor pulled up another file. "But there's been chatter on the Outer Rim, Krell tech surfacing in places it shouldn't. Someone's been stockpiling." The station shuddered again. More detonations. More distant. Jira's skin flashed bright red, an obvious anger response. "You brought me here to share intelligence that should have gone through official channels," she said. "Why?" Connor leaned forward. Because official channels have been compromised. Someone knew exactly where to plant those manipulators. Someone had access to both delegations' quarters. This isn't random terrorism, it's coordinated. Jera's weapon hand twitched, hovering near the sidearm she'd refused to leave behind. Connor didn't blame her. He'd kept his own. You suspect someone within the delegations themselves, she said. I know someone within the delegations. I've been tracking supply requisitions for 3 weeks. Someone ordered neural-compatible scanning equipment, not medical grade. Military surveillance. That could be standard security protocol. It was ordered under a dummy account 2 days before the manipulators appeared, and the encryption matches protocols used by someone who has clearance to both human and Viridian secure networks. Zero went perfectly still. Her skin stopped shifting entirely, locking into a pale gray that Connor's database couldn't identify. That should be impossible, she whispered. Our encryption is biologically keyed. Only Viridians can access our networks. Unless someone has a hybrid interface, or a Viridian accomplice. The implications hung between them like a live grenade. If someone on either side was actively sabotaging the peace talks, exposure would trigger immediate military response. The fragile trust would shatter completely. Connor watched Jera process the information. Her 4 eyes moved in patterns he couldn't interpret, her skin slowly cycling back toward neutral tones. Show me your evidence, she finally said. All of it. Connor pulled up the full analysis. Supply chains, encryption patterns, movement logs from the week before the summit. Zira absorbed it with frightening speed, her eyes darting across the data faster than Connor could track. This requisition, she said, highlighting a file. It was approved by Ambassador Kellen. Human. Correct? Correct. But look at the authorization timestamp. It was processed while Kellen was in a documented meeting with your High Chancellor. Physical impossibility unless someone cloned his access. Or he has a partner. The observation room's lights flickered. Connor's comm erupted with emergency traffic. Multiple contacts detected on approach vectors. Unknown ships dropping from faster-than-light transit. Big ones. Zira was on her feet instantly. Weapon drawn. This was a diversion. The manipulators were never the real attack. Connor accessed the tactical feed on his wrist display. His blood went cold. 15 unknown vessels, frigate class or larger, moving into bombardment positions around the station. Their signatures matched nothing in any known database. They're going to destroy the station with both delegations aboard, Connor said. Blame it on a human Viridian exchange of fire. Start the war with a massacre neither side can ignore. Jera's skin flashed through colors so rapidly it hurt to watch. The escape pods have been sabotaged. I received the report 30 seconds before you contacted me for this meeting. I thought it was human action. It was neither of us. It was whoever's on those ships. The station's defense grid activated automatically, but Connor knew the numbers. 15 warships against a diplomatic station's token defenses. They had maybe 5 minutes before the first barrage hit. Zira grabbed his arm, her grip strong enough to bruise. Your military shuttle. The one that brought your security detail? Is it still docked? Hangar 7. Why? Because Viridian warships respond to biometric codes from our command staff. If we can reach my fleet before these attackers eliminate us, I can broadcast an emergency signal, prevent our forces from retaliating against yours when the station dies. Connor was already moving toward the door, and if we don't make it... Jera's skin settled into solid black, a color his database finally recognized. Acceptance of death. Then our species destroy each other, and whoever orchestrated this watches the galaxy burn. Hangar 7 was 3 decks down and half a kilometer through corridors designed by engineers who'd clearly never heard of straight lines. Connor and Jera ran through smoke and strobing emergency lights while the station buckled under preliminary fire from the unknown fleet. Left here, Connor gasped, his lungs burning. Jera wasn't even breathing hard despite moving faster than he'd ever seen anything her size move. Proud. They rounded the corner into a massacre. 6 human Marines lay dead in the corridor, plasma burns still smoking. Their weapons were gone. The hangar door stood open, and through it Connor could see his shuttle, intact but surrounded by figures in armor he didn't recognize. Mercenaries, Zira hissed. Outer Rim's signatures on that plating. Whoever hired them paid extremely well. Connor counted 8 hostiles between them and the shuttle. His sidearm held maybe 20 rounds. Jera's pulse weapon showed half charge. The math was ugly. We need a distraction, he said. Jera's skin flashed bright yellow, a color Connor's database tagged as amusement. You are standing next to a 7-foot chromatic alien. I am the distraction. She moved before Connor could argue, stepping into the hangar with her weapon holstered and her arms spread wide. Every mercenary spun toward her, rifles raised. I am Jera of the 7th Spine, commander rank in the Viridian Expeditionary Fleet, she announced, her voice amplified somehow. I invoke Protocol 17 of the Mercenary Guild Accords. Name your contract or be declared rogue operators subject to termination bounties. Connor used the confusion to slip along the wall, staying low behind cargo containers. The mercenaries were focused entirely on Jera. Professionals would have split their attention. These were good, but they'd gotten overconfident. Protocol 17 was suspended after the Outland rebellions, one mercenary said. His voice filtered through his helmet. You're stalling. I am negotiating, Jera corrected. Your contractor has placed you in an untenable position. When this station is destroyed, evidence will point to your involvement. The guild will disavow you. Your families will receive no death benefits. Your names will be struck from all records. Connor reached the shuttle's boarding ramp. The access panel was still green. No lockout. He keyed in his authorization code silently. The contractor promised full immunity, another mercenary said, but his voice carried doubt. The contractor is about to trigger a galactic war, Zara said. Do you truly believe they will leave witnesses who can testify to their involvement? The shuttle's engines initiated with a low hum. Every helmet in the hangar snapped toward Connor's position. He dove through the hatch as rifles opened fire, bullets sparking off the hull. Zira moved like liquid lightning, drawing her weapon and firing in one continuous motion. 2 mercenaries dropped before the others could adjust. She sprinted for the shuttle, her skin flashing through camouflage patterns that made her nearly invisible against the hangar's strobing lights. Connor was already in the pilot's seat, bringing up weapon systems. The shuttle wasn't a fighter, but it had defensive turrets meant for asteroid deflection. He locked onto the nearest mercenary and fired. Castic! The magnetic accelerator round punched through armor like wet paper. Zira rolled through the hatch as Connor lifted off. Bullets rattled against the closing ramp. The shuttle lurched upward, scraping the hangar ceiling before Connor corrected course and punched through the atmospheric barrier into open space. The tactical display was a nightmare. The unknown warships had finished their approach and were systematically destroying the station's defenses. Debris fields expanded in every direction. Escape pods that had somehow survived the sabotage were being targeted and eliminated one by one. They are not even pretending this is an accident, Shara said, sliding into the co-pilot seat. Her fingers moved across the Viridian-compatible interface Connor had installed for the summit. My fleet is 8 minutes out. Human reinforcements are 11 minutes behind them. The station will be destroyed in 4. Connor pushed the engines beyond safety limits. The shuttle screamed in protest but accelerated hard. Can you broadcast your emergency signal from here? Not with sufficient power. We need line of sight to my flagship in proximity within 5,000 kilometers. Current distance is 42,000 and closing. So we need to survive 4 more minutes while flying directly toward the people trying to kill us. Correct. 3 of the unknown warships broke formation, angling toward the shuttle. Connor's threat board lit up with targeting locks. Missiles away. Multiple launches. Coming fast. He threw the shuttle into a dive toward the gas giant's upper atmosphere, using the planet's gravity well to slingshot around toward the approaching Viridian fleet. The missiles followed, adjusting trajectory with uncomfortable precision. Point defense online, Connor said, activating the shuttle's countermeasures. Chaff bloomed behind them. Decoy drones launched. The first wave of missiles lost lock and detonated harmlessly. The second wave kept coming. Jera's hands moved across her console in patterns that seemed impossible for human fingers. I am accessing their targeting systems. Military-grade encryption, but not current generation. They are using equipment at least 5 years outdated. Can you break it? I already have. Redirecting 2 missiles back toward the source vessels now. The tactical display showed 2 missile icons reverse course. One of the pursuing warships tried to evade but wasn't fast enough. The explosion was visible even at this distance, a brief star blooming against the black. 2 ships remaining on intercept, Connor said. And we're not going to make it to 5,000 kilometers before they're in firing range. The station behind them erupted in a final catastrophic detonation. Hundreds of lives gone in an instant. Both human and Viridian delegates, everyone who'd worked 3 years for peace, erased. Connor felt rage replace fear. Someone had orchestrated this. Someone had murdered all those people to start a war. And they were still out here, still trying to finish the job. Zara, he said quietly. How accurate is your emergency broadcast? Within 5,000 kilometers, 98%. Within 10,000, 63%. Beyond that, signal degradation makes it unreliable. But possible, technically yes. Connor checked their current distance to the Viridian fleet. 18,000 kilometers. The pursuing warships were gaining fast, and his shuttle's engines were already redlining. Start broadcasting now. Maximum power. Burn out the transmitter if you have to. Zira's 4 eyes fixed on him. If the signal fails to reach my flagship, both fleets will engage each other. The war begins immediately, and if we wait for guaranteed range, we'll be dead and the war starts anyway. At least this way we have a chance. Her skin cycled through colors too fast to interpret. Then she nodded and began transmitting. The pursuing warships opened fire with everything they had. The shuttle's shields collapsed under the barrage. Alarms screamed through every system. Connor felt the hull breach before the sensors confirmed it, a sudden pressure drop that made his ears pop violently. Emergency seals holding, he shouted over the noise. But we've got maybe 30 seconds before the next volley finishes us. Jera's transmission continued, her entire console glowing with the power drain. Signal strength at 42%, insufficient for reliable reception. We need 15 more seconds. Connor didn't have 15 seconds. The pursuing warships were lining up for kill shots, their weapons charged and tracking perfectly. Terrid the only thing left. He flew directly at them. The shuttle's remaining engine screamed as Connor redirected all power from life support, weapons, everything. The small craft accelerated like a missile, closing the distance between predator and prey in a heartbeat. Connor, what are you doing? Zira's skin flashed pure white, a color his database tagged as shock. Getting closer to your fleet. Hold on. The warship scattered, caught off guard by the suicide charge. Connor threaded between them, so close he could see individual hull plates. Point defense turrets tracked, but couldn't fire without hitting their companion vessels. Then he was through, past them, rocketing toward the Viridian formation that was now clearly visible on long-range sensors. Massive ships, Dreadnought class, their weapons already powering up as they detected the destroyed station. Signal strength at 61%, Zira reported. 65. 70. The pursuing warships recovered and came about, but they'd lost critical seconds. The Viridian fleet was close now. Close enough that Connor could make out individual ship designations on his failing sensors. Close enough that their weapons were locking onto his shuttle. Jera, tell me they're receiving your signal. Transmission complete. Awaiting acknowledgement. The Viridian dreadnoughts fired, not at the shuttle, at the 2 warships pursuing it. The enemy vessels vanished in overlapping fields of directed energy that made the sun look dim. Nothing remained but expanding plasma clouds. Connor's console chimed with an incoming transmission. Jera accepted it, and a Viridian face appeared on screen. Older, with skin that held steady in deep blues and silvers. Authority incarnate. Commander Zara, we received your emergency protocol. What is your status? High Chancellor, the Peace Summit was sabotaged. The station has been destroyed with all delegates aboard. This human pilot, Connor Hayes, prevented the saboteurs from completing their mission. I request immediate secure channel to brief you on our findings. The High Chancellor's four eyes shifted to Connor, studying him with unsettling intensity. Human Hayes, you have our gratitude. However, we have detected human military vessels approaching at combat speed. They will interpret our presence as hostile. Your species believes we destroyed the station. Connor's blood went cold. How long until they arrive? 4 minutes. And they are not responding to standard diplomatic channels. Because from their perspective, the Viridians had just destroyed a peace summit and killed the human delegation. They were coming for blood. I need to talk to them, Connor said. Patch me through on emergency military frequencies. Human encryption protocols are incompatible with our communication systems, the High Chancellor said. Then, get me to them. Your fastest ship. I can reach their formation and broadcast directly before they enter weapons range. Jira grabbed his arm. That ship will be targeted the moment it approaches. Human point defense systems will fire automatically on any Viridian craft. Not if I'm broadcasting human identification codes the entire way. Not if I'm screaming on every channel that I'm a friendly coming in hot. The High Chancellor's skin flickered. Even if you succeed in preventing immediate engagement, the evidence still points to Viridian aggression. Your fleet will demand answers we cannot provide. Connor pulled up the data files he and Zara had compiled. Then we give them the real enemy. The Krell tech signatures, the encryption evidence, the mercenary involvement. Everything that proves this was a third-party operation. Circumstantial evidence at best, the High Chancellor said. Insufficient to prevent war, but enough to create doubt. Enough to buy time for a real investigation. Connor looked at Jaira. You said the mercenaries were using outdated equipment. 5 years old at least. That means they've been planning this for years. Which means they've left a trail. We just need time to find it. Jaira's skin shifted through analytical patterns. The mercenary vessels were not destroyed in our counterattack. The remaining 13 ships have withdrawn beyond scanner range. If we can capture one, interrogate the crew, we might obtain proof of the conspiracy. Your people cannot pursue without appearing to be the aggressors, the High Chancellor said. And human forces will be occupied defending against perceived Viridian threat. Connor felt the pieces clicking together. So we go after them. Jaira and me, off the books. One small ship, no official markings. We find those mercenaries, we get proof. We stop this war before it starts. Tactically insane, the High Chancellor said. You would be 2 individuals against a hostile fleet with no support and no backup. We'd also be the only 2 people both species might actually believe. The human who saved a Viridian commander. The Viridian who trusted a human with her life. Connor met Jira's 4 eyes. We're already the proof that this doesn't have to be a war. Let us prove who the real enemy is. Zira's skin cycled through colors Connor had never seen before. Her voice when she spoke was steady and cold. High Chancellor, I volunteer for this mission. Commander Hayes has demonstrated both capability and integrity. With your permission, I will accompany him. The High Chancellor was silent for long seconds. Behind him, Connor could see other Viridian officers reacting with visible shock, their skin flashing through agitated patterns. The human fleet will arrive in 2 minutes, the High Chancellor finally said. If we are to prevent engagement, Commander Hayes must reach them immediately. We will provide our fastest courier ship and full intelligence package on the mercenary vessel's last known trajectory. And if we fail? Connor asked. Then both our species will destroy each other, and you will have the distinction of being the last human and Viridian to die as allies rather than enemies. The High Chancellor's skin settled into solid black. Do not fail, Commander Hayes. The galaxy is depending on you both. The transmission cut. Jaira turned to Connor, her 4 eyes blazing with determination. We have less than 90 seconds to transfer to the courier ship and intercept your fleet. Are you certain about this plan? Connor was already moving toward the shuttle's airlock. Not even slightly. But it's better than doing nothing. Agreed. Let us go prevent a war, they ran. The Viridian courier ship moved faster than anything Connor had ever flown. It didn't just break physics. It shattered them, laughed, and reassembled the pieces into something that made Einstein weep. They crossed the distance to the human fleet in 45 seconds. Connor's hands flew across the communications panel, broadcasting every human identification code he'd ever memorized. This is Lieutenant Connor Hayes, authorization Delta 79er Alpha to any human vessel receiving. I am aboard a Viridian courier on approach vector. Do not fire. Repeat, do not fire. I have critical intelligence regarding the station destruction. Static answered him. Then a voice, clipped and furious. Hayes, this is Admiral Catherine Price aboard the carrier Valiant. You have 10 seconds to explain why you're flying an enemy craft toward my battle group, or I will personally authorize your destruction. Admiral, the Viridians didn't destroy the summit. We have evidence of third-party involvement. Mercenary forces using Krell technology. They're trying to start a war by making it look like mutual aggression. I watched the station explode, Lieutenant. I watched Viridian warships arrive at the precise moment of detonation. You're asking me to believe that's coincidence? Connor pulled up the data files transmitting everything. I'm asking you to look at the evidence before you commit humanity to a war we can't win. Check the weapon signatures from the attacking vessels. They don't match Viridian profiles. Check the timeline. The Viridian fleet was responding to an emergency signal, not initiating an attack. Silence. Connor watched the tactical display as human and Viridian fleets faced each other across 10,000 kilometers of vacuum. Weapons charged. Shields at maximum, one trigger pull away from mutual annihilation. Your evidence is compelling, Admiral Price finally said, but it doesn't change the fact that our delegation is dead. Someone needs to answer for that. And they will, Connor said. Commander Jera and I are pursuing the mercenary fleet that actually destroyed the station. Give us 72 hours. If we can't bring you proof in that time, you can have your war. 72 hours while an alien fleet sits in strike range of our territory? Unacceptable. Zira leaned toward the communications panel. Admiral Price, I am Commander Zira of the Viridian Expeditionary Fleet. I propose a joint monitoring arrangement. Your ships and ours maintain current positions but establish a shared tactical network. Any movement by either fleet triggers immediate alerts to both sides. No surprises. No ambushes. You're asking me to trust your people not to use that network to target our vessels. I am asking you to trust that neither of our species wants the war someone else is trying to create. Jera's skin shifted to deep blues, steady and calm. We have lost delegates as well, Admiral. We seek the same justice you do. Another pause. Connor could almost hear the Admiral's tactical officers running probability analyses, war gaming scenarios, calculating acceptable losses. 72 hours, Admiral Price said. But Hayes, you're flying without official sanction. If this goes wrong, the Navy will disavow any knowledge of your actions. You'll be labeled a rogue operator who stole a Viridian ship. Understood, Admiral. And Hayes, bring me something solid. 'Cause if you don't, I'm coming through that Viridian fleet with everything I have. The transmission ended. Connor looked at Jera. So we've got 3 days to track down a mercenary fleet, capture one of their ships, extract a confession, and get back before 2 entire species start shooting. Correct. The intelligence package from my High Chancellor indicates the mercenaries' last known trajectory was toward the Helios sector. Unregulated space. No governing authority. Perfect place to hide if you've just started a galactic war. Connor plotted the course. 6 hours at maximum speed. That leaves us 66 hours to find them, fight them, and get answers. Jira activated the ship's combat systems, running diagnostics with practiced efficiency. This courier vessel is lightly armed. 2 plasma cannons, minimal shields, no missile complement. We are not equipped for sustained engagement. Then we don't fight fair. We hit fast, grab what we need, and run before they can organize a response. That is a terrible plan. You have a better one? Jera's skin flashed yellow. That amusement color. No. I merely wanted to establish that we both recognize how terrible it is before we proceed. Connor engaged the faster-than-light drive. Reality twisted sideways, and the courier ship dropped into the gray nightmare of hyperspace transit. They spent the next 6 hours preparing. Connor. reviewed everything he knew about mercenary operations while Jira analyzed the recovered Krell technology signatures. Patterns emerged slowly. Purchase records from black market dealers, energy profiles that matched specific manufacturing facilities, a trail of breadcrumbs left by people who'd thought they were being clever. The mercenaries bought their equipment from a broker called the Collector, Jira said, pulling up files. Known operator in the Helios sector, specializes in surplus military hardware from defunct wars. Can we track him? Better. I know where he operates. There is a station called the Crucible, neutral territory maintained by various criminal enterprises. The Collector maintains a permanent presence there. Connor felt hope stir. If we can get to him, make him talk, he might give up whoever hired the mercenaries. The Crucible does not permit violence within its walls. Strict enforcement by automated defense systems. Anyone who starts a fight is eliminated immediately. So we can't just shoot our way to answers? No, we will need to be creative. The ship dropped from hyperspace at the edge of the Helios sector. The tactical display showed scattered installations, asteroid mining operations, and one large station hanging in the black. The Crucible. It looked like someone had welded 50 different ships together and called it architecture. Mismatched hull sections, weapon emplacements pointing in every direction, docking ports of at least 9 different designs, a monument to chaos held together by desperation and duct tape. Charming, Connor muttered. It serves its purpose. No questions asked, no records kept, no authorities to interfere with business. Jira transmitted a docking request using protocols Connor didn't recognize. We will pose as independent operators seeking to purchase weapons. The Collector will see us as potential customers. And when we start asking about his clients, then we improvise. The Crucible granted docking permission. Connor guided the courier into a bay that smelled like oil, ozone, and bad decisions. Armed figures watched from catwalks overhead. Multiple species, multiple allegiances, all unified by one simple rule. Don't start trouble you can't finish. Connor and Jera stepped off the ship into the heart of the criminal underworld, hunting for the truth that might save 2 civilizations from destroying each other. They had 60 hours left. The Collector's shop occupied 3 levels of the Crucible's central hub, packed with enough illegal weapons to conquer a small moon. Connor walked past pulse rifles, antimatter charges, and something that looked suspiciously like a planet cracker while trying to appear casual. "Welcome, welcome," a voice called from above. The Collector descended on a mechanical platform, a thin creature with too many limbs and eyes that glowed faintly red. A human and a Viridian shopping together. Now that is unusual, especially given current tensions between your species. We're independent contractors, Connor said. Politics don't pay our bills. Wise philosophy. The Collector's eyes fixed on Jira. Though I wonder what brings a Viridian commander to my establishment. Yes, I recognize military bearing when I see it. Jira's skin remained steady, neutral colors. Former commander, I found civilian work more profitable. Of course. The Collector gestured toward his inventory. What can I interest you in? I have excellent stock. Recently acquired some very interesting pieces from a group who no longer needs them. Connor's pulse quickened. What kind of group? Mercenaries. Professional outfit. They made a substantial purchase some months ago, then returned to sell back equipment they deemed unnecessary. Very unusual. Most buyers keep everything, unless they completed their contract and didn't need the gear anymore, Jira said carefully. The Collector's eyes brightened. Precisely. You understand business. These were specialists. They wanted very specific items, neural disruptors, sabotage equipment, obsolete Krell military hardware. Connor and Jera exchanged glances. This was it. The connection they needed. We're looking for similar specialists, Connor said. Have a job that requires discretion and expertise. Could you point us toward your previous clients? The Collector's smile vanished. I do not share client information, ever. That is the foundation of my reputation. We'll pay double whatever they paid you. You could pay 10 times the amount. My answer remains no. The Collector turned away. If you wish to purchase weapons, I am happy to assist. Otherwise, please leave. Connor's mind raced. They were so close. The collector knew who'd hired the mercenaries, knew who'd orchestrated the entire conspiracy, but they couldn't force the information. Not here. Not with the Crucible's automated defenses, ready to kill anyone who caused trouble. Giera stepped forward. What if we offered you something more valuable than money? Information about an impending war that will disrupt every black market route in this sector. The collector paused. I am listening. The mercenaries you sold to destroyed a peace summit. Human and Viridian fleets are currently facing each other, preparing for full-scale war. When that war starts, the Helios sector will become a battlefield. Your neutrality will mean nothing. Wars are good for business. Demand for weapons increases dramatically. Not when the supply chains are destroyed by naval blockades, Connor said. Not when stations like the Crucible become strategic targets. You'll be obliterated in the first week. The collector's limbs twitched with agitation. You are speculating. We're predicting, Shira corrected. But we can stop the war if you tell us who hired those mercenaries. We can prove the conflict was manufactured. Save both species and your business operations. The collector studied them with glowing eyes, calculating odds, weighing profits against survival. Finally, he spoke. The client was a Terran Council member named Gregory Walsh. He approached me personally 6 months ago with very specific requirements. I thought he was planning a corporate acquisition. I did not realize the scale of his ambitions. Connor felt the world tilt. Gregory Walsh, one of Earth's senior diplomatic officers, a man who'd helped negotiate the peace summit from the beginning. Walsh wanted both species to go to war, Connor said slowly. But why? What does he gain? Power, the collector said. Walsh has significant investments in military manufacturing. War means contracts worth trillions, but more than that, he mentioned something about a treaty. Said once the war started, certain territorial agreements would become void. New boundaries could be established. Zira's skin flashed red. The Orion Treaty. It restricts human expansion into certain resource-rich sectors. But if humanity were at war with the Viridian Collective, they could claim military necessity to violate those boundaries. And Walsh's companies have mining rights throughout those sectors, Connor finished. He starts a war, humanity expands aggressively, his investments become worth fortunes, while hundreds of millions die, Gira added quietly. The collector's platform descended further. I have recordings of my transactions with Walsh. Security protocols require documentation of all major sales. I will provide them to you, free of charge. Because you are correct. War will destroy my business. And I am nothing if not a businessman. He transferred the files to Connor's datapad. Video evidence, audio recordings, financial transactions, everything needed to prove the conspiracy. This is enough, Connor said. We can take this to both fleets, prove Walsh orchestrated everything. You will need to move quickly, the collector warned. Walsh will have contingency plans. If he suspects exposure, he may accelerate his timeline. They ran back to the courier ship, transmitted copies of the evidence to both Admiral Price and the Viridian High Chancellor, then pushed the ship back toward the fleet positions at maximum speed. Connor's comm activated before they reached hyperspace. Admiral Price's face appeared, and she looked like she wanted to shoot something. Hayes, I've reviewed your evidence. Walsh has been arrested and his co-conspirators are being rounded up. The Viridians have confirmed receipt of the same information. Then the war is off? The immediate crisis is resolved. But Hayes, you understand what this means? A member of the Terran Council attempted to trigger galactic war for profit. There will be investigations, trials, political chaos for years. But no war? Admiral Price's expression softened slightly. No war. The Viridian High Chancellor has proposed resuming peace talks within the month, with better security measures this time. She paused. You did good work, Lieutenant, both of you. The transmission ended. Connor looked at Zira and found her skin cycling through colors he'd learned to recognize. Relief, satisfaction, something else he couldn't quite identify. We stopped the war, he said. We did. Jera's four eyes met his. Because you asked an alien for a date and somehow that turned into saving 2 civilizations. Connor laughed, feeling 3 days of tension drain away. Technically, I think dinner was never actually confirmed. We got a little distracted. True, we should rectify that oversight. Are you saying yes to dinner? Shara's skin shifted to warm golds and greens. I am saying yes to dinner, Connor Hayes, though perhaps somewhere less likely to explode than our previous attempt. The courier ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying two unlikely heroes back toward a future where humans and Viridians would have the chance to actually know each other, to build something better than war. All because one human had been brave enough or foolish enough to ask an impossible question at exactly the right moment, and an